Take a look in my game face. Ain't no stopping me, you know I'm coming in first place. Well, stop it till I get that ring. I'ma dominate all day. No matter who you bring, I will not lose.
Yeah.
I will not lose.
I will not lose.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 6 of MMA Full Throttle with Aristotle. I am your host, Aristotle. Excited to share some news with you guys today. So I actually decided to start an Instagram page to go along with this. So if you're out there on Instagram, please make sure you go follow, first of all, Black Gritty, because that's where, a lot of the core information about the channel, about the show will be posted, for our Gritty Nights episodes on Tuesdays at 9, for those live streams where we're talking about things other than MMA. But also Black Gritty on YouTube especially, and Black Gritty on Spotify is where you can find these episodes. So again, please subscribe to Black Gritty on YouTube. Please subscribe to Black Gritty on Spotify. Follow on Twitter and Instagram. But for this episode, this show in particular, MMA Full Throttle with Aristotle, I will have the individual Instagram page up as well. So I'm going to share that a little bit with you guys today, as well as talk about some of the scheduled fights that are coming up. So I'm recording this on a Friday. Bellator has an event today. BKFC, which is Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, has an event today. And then the UFC has a fight night tomorrow, and I'll break those fights down for you. Don't know a ton about the BKFC fighters. It's one of those things where there are definitely some superstars from MMA or from the UFC or from different promotions, even legends that have been retired from fighting that end up fighting in BKFC. So that does create some interest and some buzz. And Mike Perry, Platinum Mike Perry, who's a former UFC fighter, probably could have stayed in the UFC, honestly, and still, made some money for them, because he's turning into a superstar just in general. I know, again, I'm very in tune with the MMA, boxing, kickboxing, combat sports world. So for me, Mike Perry obviously is a superstar. I think that outside of MMA, outside of boxing, he's gaining some traction. He definitely speaks his mind, says some crazy shit, and calls out Jake Paul. He actually was the backup fighter, I believe, for either Tommy Fury or Hassan Rahman Jr., who I think it was for Tommy Fury in that Jake Paul fight that happened not too long ago. So, or maybe he was actually, no, I think he was the backup fighter for Dylan Dennis when he was fighting Logan Paul, and that was what's going on. Anyway, he's been backing up some of these opponents of the Paul brothers, so he's getting out there in kind of just the general social media world and things like that. But first and foremost, as I mentioned, I'm going to share my screen with you guys and show you the MMA page. So here it is here on Instagram. You can see 12 posts already in like 3 days, right? So I'm getting out there. I'm putting things out. Again, I'm learning a little bit as I go, just like I am with these episodes and with this content. But I'll definitely be posting some Instagram reels, kind of just, FaceTime angle shots of myself, giving you guys more up-to-date thoughts, more kind of quick reactions to news, quick reactions to fights. Reels is also where it's at in terms of growing the following. So I'll make sure I post things there. Shorter form content, quick thoughts, quick clips. I'll definitely be clipping, things from these shows, these episodes, giving you guys updates on when the next episodes drop, things of that nature. I got my Charles Oliveira, excuse me, just maniacal, like kind of smiling, picture as my profile picture. I love Charles Oliveira. He's one of the most exciting fighters in the history of mixed martial arts or any combat sport, to be honest. And also just this picture, the first time I saw it was just so fucking funny to me. I mean, it's just like, let me see if I got some stories up right now too with just kind of the things I've been posting. I'll click on the first, go through the posts here. So I made a meme out of it to start. First post, when my mom says I look handsome, and he got this just like this smug, maniacal, sort of villainous smile, but also just like cocky, and imagining you being like a little kid or something, and your mom telling you look handsome, and a little kid just kind of like adopting this, personality, this persona. I think it's funny as hell. I thought it was, a pretty good meme to start out with. And then just a little kind of comment there, caption, am I right? Just and I shared this with my mom actually, and she was like, oh my God, he's scary. And I was like, yeah, I do definitely see the villainous sort of, she thought it was like photoshopped or something. I mean, Charles is very just, sharp features, that sharp chin, the kind of like crooked, like side, pearly white, probably fake teeth, maybe not fake teeth, but definitely, enhanced white teeth. And just the platinum blonde hair, the kind of like sucked in face because he's been, cutting weight in this picture. and just the shades and like I said, the platinum blonde hair and the suit. This is just like one of my favorite pictures, and I just like this is a big energy. Big Charles energy with this. Yeah, big Do Bronx energy, BD over here. So yeah, that's the first post. But again, I love this picture, and I thought it was, I was, it was the first thing I thought of when I thought of a profile picture was just to use this. And then I was like, hey, let me make a meme out of it too. So I'll definitely be posting, daily memes, with kind of funny pictures and stuff like that, but also updates and fight news, and I'll add, polls into pretty much the vast majority of my posts that people can vote on and interact with, and see how things go. So that's the first post. Second post, I saw, maybe if you're not as familiar with jiu-jitsu, Craig Jones is the, I think, second ranked in the world no-gi jiu-jitsu practitioner, competitor, I should say. Gordon Ryan is number one. But I don't want to pick sides or anything like that right now too openly as I'm trying to get into this media game. But Craig Jones is hilarious. He jokes a lot, openly about kind of the steroid use in jiu-jitsu, which is like a known thing that a lot of these top level fighters use steroids and things of that nature because there's no testing, and they're kind of just trying to. I mean, hey, look, they're staying healthy that way. They have good regimens. I'm not really sure how I feel about steroids overall in terms of like if I would use it, I definitely have my aches and pains and things I'd love to heal from. So in theory, something like that would be nice, but if everyone's using it and that's part of the sport, then it's an equal playing field, and that's totally fine. So it's no big deal in terms of their sport because that's just how it goes. But Craig Jones also trains with Alexander Volkanovski, Israel Adesanya. He definitely helps, and other MMA fighters and UFC fighters. He definitely helps them with their grappling for training camps, getting prepared for fights. He's got a lot of he's got a lot of humor. He's a smart guy. Again, great at jiu-jitsu as well, and he's just a funny dude. So this picture, I don't have a ton of context for it. He partnered with some Aussie. He's Australian, so he partnered with some sort of Aussie group, and they had some event, I guess. But he's just got the swagged out. I don't know if that's the Kuji, Biggie kind of sweater he's got going on with the green track pants, and he's on this donkey, I guess, with like just the beautiful like blanket, carpet, tarp kind of on the back of it, and just the whole scene, man. He's just looking like a boss. That hat is dope. The glasses are dope. And I just thought this was a dope picture. Saw him post it the day that I made this account. And I was like, what could I do with this Craig Jones picture? And then I said, when the cops are passing by the darty and your boy says act natural. So a darty means day party, if you don't know. It could have been danger. Definitely like a college kind of meme that I made out of this, little frat meme. Seems chill with the caption. I think it's pretty, just kind of a clever little whatever nonsense, nothing caption. But day party as location. So I didn't post music with these last two posts, but as I kind of got going with the later posts, I added music to things. So I know that again, Reels is where it's at. I don't want to just like force everything to be a reel just to kind of gain a following. So again, I'll post Reels with probably some highlights and things and clips that I take from other people. I'll always give credit. Here I give the photo credit to Craig Jones, and Geku Australia, or Get You Australia, is that collaborator that he had. And even here, I didn't put a location, but that's something I like to do a lot of the times in general. So the next post, this one is just a clip from the first episode of the second episode of MMA Full Throttle with Aristotle. Give a little bit of a recap of what I was talking about in the episode, just kind of showing myself on the channel, showing what the show looks like to folks that on social media or Instagram might not know about it. Some people I imagine will get to my Instagram from Black Gritty, from the YouTube and the Spotify, and others will get here to YouTube and Spotify from social media. So just giving them a little insight to what the shows are, and again, the long form content. I'd love to blow up, right, in terms of the UFC content, the MMA content, the boxing content. I'd love to go viral from these things and gain a following quickly. But ultimately, I'm not trying to create a social media account. You know what I mean? That's not the goal. The goal is to have this more long form content. One day, if I get somebody to help me edit and have, maybe if I have more time, things like that, I could just be the whole operation, the whole organization over here. But clearly, when you have a team around you to help you build out the long form content, people to create clips from it, to sift through all that stuff. In the future, I can definitely imagine just the clips being a part of it more than anything in terms of the short form content. But yeah, like I said, my goal is to create discourse, conversation, to just get excited and be passionate about mixed martial arts and the fight game. I mean, that's why I'm doing this, because I love it. I'm a huge fan. I love talking about it. I want to engage with other people in the community and learn more and hopefully engage with fighters as time goes on. So again, that's just the goal is kind of this sort of content, but I do think I can dabble in the Instagram world as well. Here's just another quick clip of I forget which episode 2 or 3 or 4. Again, so you'll see here if you go to social media, you'll see that I talk about highlights and show highlights on these episodes. So just to show you guys some more of that. Another kind of clip from one of the previous episodes. And then another meme. So this was crazy. March 18th, I think was March 18th or 19th, maybe was the day that I saw this or posted this. But basically, this was circulating all around. Cheeto Vera, after his fight against Sean O'Malley at UFC 299, he was getting battered, right? His face in this left-hand picture here, if you're looking on the screen, he looks like he got fucked up, right? That knee he took in that fight was brutal. Hit him on, I think it was his right eye, but you see in this picture, both eyes were pretty swollen and cut and messed up, and blood all over the face, cuts, scrapes. That's the most beat up, Cheeto's looked in a fight. Usually he doesn't even have much of a scratch on him because he just takes damage so well. But hey, in this fight, just the way, again, that knee sounded, the way that it looked when it hit him, how flush it was, the aftermath, how swollen he was, the cuts. Everyone assumed that he broke his orbital. I mean, we've seen it before. I've seen guys get kneed in the face in that same kind of area, and it just always looks like their orbital got smashed. And a lot of the times, that's what ends up happening. And it's not hard to guess. You feel confident being like, that guy probably broke something around his eye. Cheeto, less than 2 weeks later, like 10 days later, he's getting interviewed by Ariel Helwani on MMA Hour, and that's him on the right-hand side. I mean, clearly, I think, if you know what Cheeto looks like usually, still a little bit swollen around the eyes, but those cuts and the bruising is like almost all the way gone, and the swelling is going down. So, I mean, Jesus. I mean, there are some people, actually, I love Robert Whitaker. He's one of my favorite fighters, but I kind of saw a post just showing him, I think, like more than a couple weeks, maybe even a month, like after his fight against Paulo Costa, and he still has a little bit of like bruising and a little bit of a cut healing under his left eye. He didn't take as much damage as Cheeto, and it's taken a longer time, and he's still healing. That's not a knock on Rob at all. I mean, this is just Cheeto. This is freaky shit. Like, it makes no sense how fast he heals. I can't believe it. But anyway, so I posted, another meme with this, and I said, when life has been kicking your ass lately, but then you remembered just to lock in. So it's like, that's a very common kind of trending thing on social media these days, kind of with the, Gen Z jargon. I guess Gen Z is getting older now too, so I'm not sure what the younger generation's called or who's making up the trends now. But yeah, I mean, just that lock-in kind of joke, and it's just, look at life in the world now. We look around the world, and I'm not going to get into that sort of, political side of things or world just kind of issue side of things too much, but things cost a lot of money, right? Like the environment do we need to worry about climate change? Obviously, I think we do, but we'll see how bad that gets. AI and robotics and just the oligarchy and like the governments kind of controlling things and elites and whatever. And the roads there aren't, could get fixed and all these different issues we're dealing with in life. And, people just say, oh, you just got to lock in, bro. It's like, or it's like when I've seen memes where like when a guy or a man's going through the worst, like, stretch of horrible things to happen in their life over the course of years or something, and they just remember to lock in. It's like, oh, that's all I got to do is lock in. It's just a joke about how, sometimes you get your ass kicked in life and you just got to lock in, right? It's as easy as that. And the joke here also with Cheeto is that, 9 days, he's like, I'm destroyed. My face is fucked up. What should I do? I just got to lock in, bro. I just got to lock in. And he healed up quickly. So here was when I added in another kind of locked in location. You see photo cred, ESPN MMA. I'm not trying to, cheat or steal from anybody. I think the nature of social media now and just the world of content, right, or anything, it's like people, take people's posts. As long as you're giving people credit, I think that's fair. And as long as that's not your whole shtick, like I said, I'm not trying to create an MMA page just to get a bunch of followers, then sell it, to somebody who can market to people. That's not my goal. My goal is to actually build out a page here, or at least have this be a tether back to the social media, or excuse me, to the subscribers over on YouTube and Spotify. So this is where I added a poll. I said, does Cheeto have the best chin in MMA? The options for the poll, I guess the poll might have ended. I'm not totally sure or how to see it here. I don't know. Oops, sorry, I shook the table there. I'm not sure how to see it on like the actual. I'm on my computer, so I'm not sure about the computer view. But I said, does Cheeto have the best chin in MMA? And the options I gave were Cheeto, Max Holloway, Nate Diaz, and then I think I said other, and then someone in the comments put Vittori because everybody at middleweight has KO power, and I think that was a great call out. I forgot to put Vittori in that. Marvin Vittori, the Italian Dream. I've seen him get rocked by people. Has he been dropped or knocked down? Robert Whitaker hurt him for sure and put him in a vulnerable position. I don't know if it was a knockdown exactly, but this guy made a great point. So it's King Southside or whoever this is. Um, these fighting 180 at 185. These guys are coming into the cage over 200 pounds, and he's eating power shots from those guys. Cheeto's fighting at 135 pounds. Holloway fights at 145 and 155. Nate Diaz 155, 170, and I think that the Vittori point was a great one. So if you want to prove that, tell me that I'm wrong or tell me that I missed something. Again, I love to have the conversation and, again, be reminded by the right answers sometimes. So next post, another clip here. Just giving you guys the insights into what I talked about in these episodes. Several episodes out now. So if you haven't checked them out on YouTube or Spotify, go check them out. And then here we go. We got another meme here that I made. And this was a recent post. Again, I gave photo credit to Danny Mosaic on Instagram. He's a great photographer, great combat sports photographer especially. He had some great shots from UFC 299. So, here I got this picture of Sean O'Malley. This was like the press conference before the fights. Peter Yan, somebody he fought in the past in the same weight class. Very controversial fight. I thought Peter Yan won. Looking back at it, especially with some of the kind of fence grabbing situations that looked like O'Malley got away with. I think Jan still won, but it really wasn't a huge robbery in the way I thought in the moment when watching the fight. Looking back at the fight, O'Malley definitely did a lot of damage to Peter, and I'm not. It's not the biggest biggest atrocity or biggest mistake in the history of MMA. I've seen much worse decisions, so I'll get over it. But ultimately, I don't want to change my own mind over time and be like, yeah, O'Malley won. It is what it is. Like, I definitely thought Jan won in overtime. I still thought he won, but I just don't think it's a robbery anymore. But we see Gilbert Burns here, legend, former title challenger, and still one of the best fighters at 170 pounds, welterweight. Just kind of smiling and laughing. Sugar Sean O'Malley got the flamboyant, just pizzazz. Got the I don't even know what that fucking it's Eagles green. I'm a Philly fan. Go Birds. So I'm down with that jacket or whatever that is. Looks a little bit hairy, but he's got the cool dyed hair as well and the cool shades. But yeah, he's walking over to his spot at the press conference and he's just seeing Peter and he's like, thumbs down, Peter. And Gilbert's just loving the chaos, loving the mess. As I've said on other episodes, MMA, like, there's personalities, there's dickheads, there's jerks, there's people that have different political views than you, there's people that have different world views than you, and there's people that sometimes say crazy shit to other fighters that if they said that to you, you take it really personally and feel offended. But look at Gilbert. That's how I try to enjoy MMA and absorb MMA. And the whole fight game is the way Gilbert is. Just laugh and enjoy. Like, these guys you're not fighting, right? You're not fighting these guys. If they're fighting each other, or these ladies are fighting each other, and they're talking crazy shit and saying some crazy things or doing stuff to sell the fight or promote the fight, just don't take it all too seriously and just enjoy it and laugh. So here, that's what Gilbert's doing, and that's what I'm doing too. So I put me playing it cool in kindergarten, getting ready to pick my crush in Duck Duck Goose, and my friend who knows I like her. So yeah, it's like O'Malley. I'm just playing it cool. My crush is Peter Yan sitting there, just unknowingly about to get picked, and Gilbert just smiling because he's like, oh, I know that Aristotle, I know Sugar Sean's gonna pick this person because I know they have a crush on them. So I think it's pretty clever, pretty cool. I'm having fun with it, of course. So, and then I put recess as the location, and I did put another poll here. Did Jan get robbed against O'Malley? I gave the options of like, yes, Jan won clearly. No, Sean won. Get over it. Or it was like a really close fight. Could have gone either way. Those are kind of the options I put there. So let me see the next post here. So this one, man, I saw this was, again, a recent fight, only happened a couple weeks ago. So it's like not a ton of inspiration in terms of like people making memes out of this photo yet. I'm seeing a couple things here and there. I screenshotted this. I wanted to just like make my own meme from it. But this is so fucking good. I had to share it. So OOC MMA on Twitter is who shared this. I screenshotted it, again, giving credit, saying it's from this guy on Twitter. I don't want anyone thinking that I made this up or pretending like or I don't want to pretend like I made it up either. But he said, I had a good time tonight. You're the greatest friend a girl could ask for, quote. And it's just O'Malley at the end of that fight against Chito Vera when he got absolutely ripped to the liver with like a few seconds left in the fight. And you can see the face he makes here. Cheeto said he made a sound. It looks like you look at his mouth opening. It looks like he definitely made a sound. His body too. I mean, Sean's not like the most ripped up guy ever, but he's definitely gotten more muscular over the years as he's gotten older. And look at his arm right there. You can see the vein in Sean's arm. Yeah, it's pretty muscular, right? And then he's just getting his body flabbled, like flabbergasted. And, it looks like flab kind of popping out there, just from how hard Cheeto rocked him in the liver. And gut punch, right? It's a shot to the gut. And man, I guess you probably can't hear the music on this either, but I'm pretty sure I put like "You Got a Friend" in me. I did some sort of song here, I think, or at least I meant to. But again, I put, does Cheeto win this fight if he lands this body shot earlier in the fight? And then the options were like, no way he was getting outclassed. Yes, Sean was definitely hurt, or like, I don't know, LOL. But again, I thought this was fucking hilarious. Friend zone. I put the friend zone as the location, so just getting a little clever there again, just having fun. And then most recently, actually, I might have posted something since this, but this was so this one, yeah, I guess you can't hear the music on the like web version of Instagram that I posted on this, but I did post music with this photo. It was Midnight Train to Georgia. So it's like he's leaving on that midnight train. I think that's the beginning of the song that plays when you go to this post. But yeah, this is really cool. Full Violence shared this. This was circulating a lot yesterday or the day before. A mural in Georgia of Ilia Topuria and Merab Dvalishvili, who are both Georgian fighters in the UFC. Both really great friends. If you ever watch them kind of talk about each other, there's great clips out there, press conferences of them just being like, "No, brother, you're the best. No, brother, you're the best." And then even Merab was at Ilya's press conference and said, "No, this guy's going to be champion one day." I think they asked Ilya, like, if you or Merab could be champion first, like who do you think should be or could be or something like that? And Ilya was like, Ilya's a very confident, almost could come off to some people as cocky sort of guy and fighter. And again, that's one of those things. I think he's just uber confident. And yeah, maybe he's not like the most modest about it, or maybe like humble, but he doesn't need to be. He's been destroying people. He's undefeated. Excuse me. He's the champion. He knocked out one of the top pound for pound fighters, one of the best fighters of all time. He's got swag. He's got charisma. He's got a huge following. He's well spoken. He's handsome. I think it's a guy that just makes sense why he's as confident as he is. But when asked this question, he said he just almost became bashful, almost became shy, and was just like, "Yo, like he's Merab. It has to be Merab. He's like, it has to be Merab." You could just feel the love he felt for Merab in that photo, in that moment. And Ilya does fight out of Spain now, but his parents are Georgian, and he's I believe he was born in Georgia. So Merab then is at the press conference. Merab like stands up and he's like, "No, this guy." He's like, this guy's so good. He's gonna be champion. I trained with this guy. He dropped me 5 times in sparring or something. And it's like, and then Ilya immediately is like, no, I trained with this guy too, and he's that good. He's the real deal. And it's like Ilya's not one to, there's been recent video footage coming out of his sparring leading up to the Volkanovski fight, and he was just dropping motherfuckers left and right, dropping his sparring partners. Again, it's one of those things also just that in MMA, like, and in combat sports in general, it's almost like an unwritten rule that you don't openly talk about what happens in sparring or in training, because that's not fighting, right? So, and also at the same time, it's just like, these guys are training together, right? If you're fighting somebody, iron sharpens iron, right? You're trying to become better. These are your teammates potentially sometimes. Sometimes guys just cross train and go to different locations and different gyms and train with each other, so it's a little bit different. But if you're training with other people and you don't go out there and say, "Yeah, I knocked out this guy in training." If you want to build bad blood and create animosity and build up promotion, I've seen that done. I've seen it done in the build up to fights where guys maybe used to train together and they're about to fight each other, and they say, "Hey, I know what happened in the gym. I know what happened in the training room, so you know what's going to happen in the fight." And that was kind of a lot of talk with that too. Two other guys who were basically best friends for a while. I already showed you guys in the previous post, Gilbert Burns, but Kamaru Usman, when he had to defend his belt against Gilbert Burns, they were training partners in the same gym. They had to, I think it was Kamaru who actually switched gyms, went out to train with Justin Gaethje in Colorado with Trevor Whitman. And it's one of those things that they were training partners and best friends for years in the same division. So there's a lot of evidence, or in theory a lot of maybe not a lot of footage, but some footage, a lot of stories, right? A lot of knowledge from other fighters and from those fighters themselves, like who got the best of who in the gym. Was it competitive all the time? Did some guy typically get the best of the other guy? And there was a lot of whispers about that, and it was one of those things building up to that fight where guys weren't necessarily saying like Usman whooped Gilbert in the gym all the time or things like that. But there was like kind of whispers that like we know one of the guys, you know, they each got each other sometimes, right? But one of these guys got the other more often enough to be like, I think we know what's going to happen here. And it was Usman. That was the one that was getting the best of Gilbert in the gym typically. In that fight, Gilbert landed a shot that kind of wobbled Usman, definitely, but ultimately got finished in the second round, I believe, by Usman. So, just to say that guys don't typically want, and also you just like even if it's your friend and and you guys have a good relationship and you're being open about stuff, fighters are usually, a little bit again like more cocky, trying to protect that sort of protect their legacy, protect their status. And it's not even always in a selfish way. Sometimes it's just about like your brand as a fighter. You don't want people to, look at you differently. So, Merab just openly being like, this guy dropped me 5 times in sparring, in training. That's the type of thing that like if they ever fought each other, which they would never, but the whole idea is like, all right, I don't want the UFC to not make a fight with somebody because they heard that I got dropped by them in sparring, whatever. And I don't want the fans to be like, this guy's definitely gonna lose. I don't want my own confidence or my own mind to be affected by this knowledge being out there, and now I'm questioning myself. Like, it's just not what happens. People don't, it's unwritten rule again that you don't share that sort of thing. It's broken sometimes for sure. But Merab just being like, yo, like this guy is so good, he beat me this way. And Merab is arguably the best fighter in the world at the weight class below Ilya. And Sugar Sean O'Malley wants to fight both of them. So it's like this interesting situation. O'Malley's got 2 tough matchups there. If he goes up to 145 to fight Ilya, or he stays at 135 for Merab, 2 Georgian monsters. But yeah, just, and then like Ilya being like, Ilya almost was like, again, this guy that is openly like, I'm gonna knock out Alexander Volkanovski in the first round. That's how confident I am. Is like getting shy and embarrassed that this guy he loves, this friend of his, Merab, his countryman, is like openly telling the whole world like, yo, I got dropped by this guy in sparring. And Ilya's like, oh my god, like almost like I would never tell. I've told that to anybody. I would have gone to the grave with that, and you put me up like on this pedestal in front of everybody because that's how much you love me and that's how much you believe in me. And then again, it was like ditto back, right? Ilya felt the same way, but Merab was like, yo, this guy's that good too. So just, I know I went on like a long kind of tangent story with that, but I love both fighters. I love that love. And again, this is what I'm trying to bring to the table on some level, that's different maybe from others in MMA journalism or in combat sports journalism. Not totally different. I mean, other people definitely talk about, the aspects of the fight game outside of the fight game. Ariel Helwani is great, maybe the #1 guy in terms of that, in terms of interviewing guys and learning more about different things. But in terms of me representing why I love the sport, trying to maybe get more people to come enjoy the sport with me or ask about it or be interested in the sport, it's a growing sport, mixed martial arts, so it's going to get bigger and more people are going to be hearing about it or wondering about it or seeing about it. And for me, this is why I love the sport, right? Like it's a violence, whatever. I'm a man, I don't know, blah blah blah. You can say anything you want about that sort of stuff, but I love the competition. It's the ultimate level of competition, the ultimate stressor, the ultimate, I need to be physically and mentally sharp right now, the ultimate, I need to overcome any lack of physical sharpness, any injuries I have, any hurt that I'm feeling. It's so mental, even though it's also so physical. And again, all that goes into it, the years of training, the struggle. These guys are not all multimillionaires, and the different personalities, just the goofy brotherhoods. Like I was on teams my whole life growing up, and that's some of the best stuff you could ever have in life, is being on a team with people that love you, and you have common goals, and you're supporting each other, and you're building each other up, and you're challenging each other, but just to make each other better, and you trust each other. I mean, again, you see that so often in these fight camps, these fight teams. But then you see, and again, you'll see that two opponents maybe that have that same sort of thing going on in their respective camps, but then they just hate each other, right? So it's like just the fire, and then afterwards they're done fighting, they beat the shit out of each other, they might have like every worldview, in opposition you could imagine, and they still just went through something that is unexplainable, and you can only know if you experience it. and I don't even really know. I mean, I've definitely competed against people and felt closer to them afterwards when it gets, the more intense it gets. But there's nothing more intense than fighting somebody. So it's like they go through such intense things together. They share an experience in the cage together. So again, I just love that side of mixed martial arts. I'm very passionate about all of the storylines and the synapses and the tethers and all the different associations. And again, you get to see stuff like this manifest in the real world. These are not just like, NBA players, or again, I love all sports. I grew up loving playing basketball, playing baseball, playing soccer. Predominantly, I play tennis, I play pickleball. You know what I mean? I do it all. Play volleyball. Like I've trained boxing. So I'm a big fan of all these sports, and I'm not trying to be like, I'm an MMA guy and fuck all these other sports. That's not what I'm saying. But it's just that there are these organizations backing them, these corporations that are these, and again, so is the UFC. It's very capitalist in trying to make money and all that stuff too. But in terms of the fighters themselves, and the UFC, I wish would elevate these fighters to being more wealthy. At the same time, like once you make enough money, why would you keep fighting, right? So I'm not trying to say like keep it in some middle ground so that guys don't stop fighting, but it's definitely the type of thing right now where guys are not getting paid everything they deserve or all the money that these other athletes are getting paid. There aren't these huge brands necessarily like fully backing the fighters, and the fighters do not feel entitled the way that a lot of other professional athletes do. They don't act entitled the way that other professional athletes do. They come through the mud, they grind, they do everything they can to become what they are as fighters, and then again, to see it manifest in these, and how excited and how happy like the fellow countrymen in Georgia are for their athletes to finally be on the map. You get to see small countries with like small populations produce amazing fighters. Dagestan in Russia is like such a small section of the world that has so many great athletes in MMA as well. Philly, we have a few UFC fighters too, so I'll just throw that in there again. But anyway, I'm getting real into this. I'm real passionate about it, but that's my other one. And yeah, this this is the one I posted today. I forget which song I used for this one, but I definitely used the song as well. And I put, it's just a picture of Alex Poatan Pereira, who's the current light heavyweight champion, former middleweight champion, rival of Israel Adesanya, former Glory light heavyweight and middleweight kickboxing world champion, double champ. Hilarious, imposing, one of my favorite fighters, one of my favorite athletes. And he's just got a picture of him with like some monkey, some macaw or something like that. I don't know if it's a macaw, but some monkey on his shoulder and a jacket. What the fuck is going on? I have no idea. But I just put, guys really only want one thing, and it's this. And I put some sort of friend. Oh, I did Queen. Like, that's my best friend that I've ever had. That's the song I put for it. Heaven on Earth. Again, just playing into the joke about like men are simple creatures, and it's just, if I just had a monkey best friend on my shoulder, that'd be fucking the best shit I can imagine in the world. I love it. So chama, it means fire in, I think it just means fire in Portuguese, or it's more so just like a phrase used like chama, like dope, or like cool probably. I think that's what it means from the context clues I've been seeing. But Alex says Shama all the fucking time. He also is known for like, huh? Like he does these like grunts and things too. Really funny guy, really great fighter, ferocious fighter. He's headlining UFC 300. And then I put a poll again. I put, does Alex defend his belt against Jamal Hill at UFC 300? The options were like Poatan by KO. Poatan is his nickname. It means hands of stone in Portuguese, which he does. He's got fucking crazy knockout power. I'll definitely do some highlights of Alex's as we get closer to his next fight. I put, Alex by KO, Poatan by KO, Jamal Hill by KO. Then it was like just, and still and new, because maybe not by KO, but you think one of those guys is going to win. So anyway, that's what I got posted on here so far. Going to keep posting more and more. Again, I'll share a clip of this episode when it's done, and we'll keep it moving from there. So go follow Aristotle MMA on Instagram, and again, subscribe to Black Gritty and all this good stuff. 37 minutes in, just all the intro. That was a little bit longer than I meant to go, but I'm quickly just going through what the fight's coming up here. So we see, as I mentioned, I was going to talk about BKFC a little bit. We have this fight card happening at 4 p.m. today, so I don't know if I'm going to catch it. I'm about to go play pickleball after this episode is done recording. But basically, BKFC is bare knuckle fighting championship. It's bare knuckle boxing, no knees, no elbows, none of that stuff. So it's not MMA, but it is home to a lot of former MMA fighters, tough guys. It's a brutal sport to watch. You get cut a lot more easily with the knuckles, the bare knuckles, and the tape, without the gloves on. But on some level, guys aren't getting kicked in the face, they're not getting kneed. So it's more like kind of topical, on the surface damage. It's not quite as bad. I think guys also like are more careful throwing the punches because you could hurt your hands a lot more easily in bare knuckle. So there's some those are the arguments for like the safer aspects of it. I don't really know any of these guys, to be honest with you. As I mentioned, Platinum Mike Perry. There's a big kind of fight night coming up. If I go to the events here, we just see all events. Go scroll down a little bit. We see more info. April 27th, Mike Perry, Thiago Alves, both former UFC guys. This card is going to be dope, actually. Ben Rothwell. What is it? Duffy. What's it? Phil Duffy? What's his first name? God. I'm forgetting Duffy's first name. I don't know why. Let me click on him. Todd Duffy. Oh my God. He used to be in the UFC as well. Tore for Ben Rothwell. Big Ben Rothwell, two former UFC guys. And over here we have Mick Terrell. Don't really know a lot about him. I've been watching some of his highlights, and I watched the press conference. They had a little super pre early press conference with these guys to hype up this event because it's going to be a big event. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 former UFC guys, and then Lorenzo Hunt over here is an absolute beast. He's the middleweight and light heavyweight belt holder in BKFC. Now he's going up to heavyweight, so he's gonna get a size disadvantage for sure. But he's nice. He's nice with it. He's nice with the BKFC stuff. He might just be the perfect kind of fit for BKFC. He's got great hands, great head movement, but he knows the game, right? Again, it's not boxing. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit more rough, a little bit more rigid, a little bit more sharp. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta have certain aspects of the clinch game that there's more kind of clinch uppercuts, holding guys' heads down, doing things like that Hunt is nice at. So I think Terrell. Man, 270 versus 185. Actually, okay, the 185 is his middleweight weight. You know what I mean? So I think he's gonna probably get up to, I don't know. He'll definitely 205 is light heavyweight, so he'll be 220, something like that. I would guess in this fight. 6'3", 270 is fucking a house though. That's gonna be a problem. I don't know who's gonna win that fight. Mike Perry, Thiago Alves. That's going to be a banger. Thiago Alves used to be a really, really good fighter in the UFC welterweight division. A better fighter than Mike Perry in mixed martial arts, for sure. They're fighting at light heavyweight now, which I guess I don't know. They're listed at 174. I don't know what these weights are. BKFC, get the weights organized. I'm not really sure what the hell that's about. Again, 265 versus 205. That's making me think that they're just kind of using like previous weights. Anyway, BKFC done. Now we got this Bellator card tonight. I might say no. We'll see. I'll definitely get through the Bellator stuff and maybe quickly go through the fight night tomorrow for UFC, or I'll save it for a separate video. But we got Alfie Davis versus Oscar Onsworth here. Don't know much about these guys, to be honest. Luke Trainer versus Grant Neal. Luke Trainer at light heavyweight. This guy 7-1. I think he lost one of his most recent fights, but I think his nickname is the Gent. I follow him on Instagram. Really nice guy. Really cool guy. Big, strong, athletic, light heavyweight. Definitely a prospect that I'm interested in seeing how he does as he goes up in the ranks in Bellator. Maybe we could see him doing something special one day. Abraham Badley, sorry, bro. Isaiah Pinson, don't know much about you guys. Nathan Kelly versus Vikas Singh Ruhil. Sorry if I mispronounced your name there. Don't know much about these guys either. We see a lot of Irish guys, a lot of UK guys on this card. So I think this might be... Oh, it's in Belfast. I guess that's Hungary, right? So, Northern Ireland. Okay, dope. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense why there's all these Irish guys in here. Honestly, if anything, watching this card might just be for the energy. The Irish energy in the crowds is insane. They get after it. Conor McGregor, back in the day, there's some incredible... It's almost like Brazil. Conor McGregor in Ireland is almost like King of Rio, Jose Aldo in Brazil. It's like that level of intensity. Tim Wilde, Manuel Sousa. Don't know a lot about these guys. Fabian Edwards, Aaron Jeffrey. That's a little bit exciting there. So Fabian Edwards is Leon Edwards' brother. Leon Rocky Edwards is the current welterweight champion of the UFC, one of the best fighters in the world. Fabian Edwards is nice. He beat Lyoto Machida. He was a legend, a former light heavyweight champion in the UFC in Bellator. Lyoto's old now, so it is what it is. But it's still a good win. At his age, he's still a good fighter, so Fabian did a good job there. Aaron Jeffrey, prospect, got a mullet, gets a lot of finishes. Definitely fought some decent competition. This will be a step up for him a little bit. But I think this is a good matchup. Again, Fabian I'm pretty sure he lost to Johnny Eblen, who was the middleweight champion. Got finished, I believe. It was a decent fight. He did some damage, but ultimately wasn't on the same level as Johnny Eblen in that fight. And now he's coming down a notch, right, to fight Aaron Jeffrey. And Aaron Jeffrey might be going, up a notch or staying in the same range, or at least figuring out where he belongs. So that's a good fight there. Jeremy Kennedy versus Patricio Freire. So this is Patricio Freire is one of the greatest fighters of all time. He'll always have that kind of deniability about how great he really is because he fought in Bellator his whole career pretty much. But he's been two-weight champ. He's defended both belts like over the years, multiple times each. He actually tried to get another belt, tried to go down to 100, I believe 35 pounds. He was the 145 and 155 pound champ. Tried to go down to 135, get a belt, couldn't do it. But again, he's getting older. It was a tough fight against a really good fighter. Could he have beat him? I think he could have, but he definitely, he lost fair and square. But yeah, Patricio Pitbull Freire, him and his brother have the same nickname, Pitbull, which I think is kind of funny. They look really similar too. Patricky is also his brother's name. But anyway, Patricio, there's a big height disadvantage for him here. He's a shorter guy. Jeremy Kennedy looked way bigger than him in the weigh-ins. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I'm going to pick Patricio. Again, you see it's a pick 'em kind of fight, but you got to stick with the vet until someone proves otherwise. Unless it's Ilya Taporia. Then you just gotta go with Ilya. Anyway, I digress. So main event, Corey Anderson versus Carl Moore. Corey Anderson, also I'm gonna throw a shout out to James Gallagher down here. I don't know if I said that earlier, but first I think I skipped that fight versus Leandro Higo. James Gallagher, he's not the favorite in this fight, but he's definitely a personality in Ireland. He was someone that was coming up a little bit after McGregor and had some buzz. I don't believe he ever fought in the UFC. I'm not totally sure about that though. But yeah, he's a name for sure. 12-2. I'd like to see how he performs here, especially as the slight underdog. Corey Anderson, huge favorite against Carl Moore. Don't know much about Carl Moore. Corey Anderson, former UFC fighter. He beat former light heavyweight champion Jan Blachowicz in the UFC, and then basically he was on a run, man. He was on the track to fight John Jones, or have a chance to fight John Jones for the belt. Did not end up getting there. I don't remember exactly the timeline, but either it was after John left or John retired or vacated the light heavyweight belt, saying he's going to go up to heavyweight, put the time in there and kind of focus on that. He was done with light heavyweight, and then it was kind of like a free-for-all, and the belt was switching hands a lot and stuff like that. Corey Anderson had a rematch against Jan Blachowicz. If he won that fight, probably would have been in line for a title shot. Ends up getting knocked out cold pretty badly. And the concussion symptoms after that were rough for him. I think I even heard that he was with his kid later, maybe weeks later, months later, and just face planted, blacked out, skinned his whole face on cement on the sidewalk. Crazy kind of story and situation with that. But I don't remember if he had one more fight and then he went to Bellator, or exactly how it worked. But he was definitely one of the best light heavyweights in the world. I think before that knockout to Jan Blachowicz, there was okay, maybe he could do something, in this division. He was already a very good fighter in the division. He since has had, again, the plausible deniability of not fighting UFC fighters to say, I'm the best light heavyweight in the world. He was beating Vadim Nemkov, going to win a decision easily in that fight when he had a chance to be the light heavyweight champion, and accidentally headbutted him on the ground. Totally accidental. He was just kind of getting positioned. Their heads clashed. It affected Nemkov, but Corey Anderson immediately looked up to the ref and says, I hit him in the head, or I headbutted him or something. The ref stops the fight. Accidental headbutt, whatever. And it was a no contest because of that. And ultimately, the ref didn't see it right away. If Corey had just not said anything, again, great sport, but he would have been the champion, right? He would have been the champion. And that stuff happens in fights. Accidental headbutts happen in fights. I don't really knock him for being a good sport, but at the same time, I think he messed up there. Would have been the champ. Maybe not even have a rematch because he maybe fought somebody else because he did such a dominant job, against his opponent. Ended up, kind of rematching that fight. Got to run it back. Corey was winning. Got to give him another chance. And then he gets, kind of destroyed or at least beat pretty handily in that rematch. So anyway, now Vadim Nemkov is moving up to heavyweight. This is for the light heavyweight belt, I believe. Corey's going to win. I'm going to pick him. But again, he's getting older, and some of these older guys go to these other promotions, and instead of having their primes and just dominating everybody, they dominate a little bit to start, and then they fight some legit guy that we didn't know about, and all of a sudden we realize, oh, maybe they weren't all that. But I don't know. It's just a weird situation here. I'm picking Corey, big favorite, and moving on to UFC. So fight night here. Muhammad Usman. So I love that, again, that the UFC actually shows the stats, and PFL is owned by ESPN now too, or they're partnered with ESPN now too. So I don't know why they don't throw the stats on here for us too, also. And actually, I know that was Bellator, sorry. But again, Bellator merged with PFL. it's going to be on HBO Max, which again, I'll talk about this maybe on another episode, but I don't really know what the hell the deal is with that merger. Like PFL merged, bought Bellator. They had a champ versus champ thing. They're keeping the promotions separate. I understand that on some level for the brand value of each, and having this cross promotion, quote unquote, sort of situation when it's really the same promotion. I don't know. I mean, it's like a sub brand, whatever you want to call it. But the fact that they wouldn't also want Bellator to be on ESPN, I don't know why they're on HBO Max. I'm not sure what that's about. Anyway, Muhammad Usman, heavyweight, brother of Kamaru Usman, really great energy, very intense guy. He's the underdog here. He's given up some size. This guy, Mick Parkin, 2 inches taller, 25 pounds heavier, similar reach. This guy Mick's a little bit younger. I don't know. I don't know enough about Mick, but I'm just going to roll with Usman because I think, he's going to have the tenacity. He's got some wrestling, and he's got some power. So we'll see what happens here. Igor Severino, Andre Lima, not very knowledgeable about these guys. 8-0 versus 7-0. Honestly, they both might be making their debut. Would not be shocked by that. That happens sometimes here. Another situation here. Montserrat Rendon versus Daria Zeleznikova. 2 women I've never seen fight, so I'm just going to move on from there, but excited to watch them for sure on Saturday. Jarno Aarons, Stephen Wynn. Not totally sure here again. We see 8 significant strikes versus 1, so, we know Stephen Wynn is coming to bang, and he's the favorite, so I'm curious about that as well. Yeah, Daria over here, yeah, she has no stats, so she's definitely doesn't, I think she probably hasn't fought in the UFC at all, let alone a contender series. These guys, have a little bit of stats going on, so maybe they have some lower level fight experience. Moving on to some people I know. Miles Johns versus Cody Gibson. We see Gibson is the slight underdog here. Miles Johns, I've seen him crack people, knock them out real good. He's going to have a height disadvantage here, reach disadvantage. But again, I've seen Miles Johns throw bombs, knock people out. I think that sometimes taller guys in certain divisions are giving up strength, giving up power. So I'm going to roll with Miles Johns here, even though he's a slight favorite. But again, as I said on previous episodes, if I've seen both fighters fight, I feel confident. If I've only seen one, then it's not always clear. Ricardo Ramos versus Julian Erosa. Erosa, man, he's got the skills, man. He's got some range. He's a banger. He throws a lot of strikes, lands a lot of strikes. But he's been, kind of in these wars a lot of the time where it's kill or be killed, and he's been the one getting killed recently. You see 6 strikes per minute, pretty good for the amount of experience he has in the UFC. I'm going to roll with just Ramos just off the fact. I think I've seen him fight once. Did pretty well. 6 years younger. Erosa just kind of coming off this string of getting hit, in the midst of a firefight where it looks like maybe he could be the one to win, and then he just gets rocked. I think the chin might be going a little bit. I'm going to roll with Ramos on that. End of the prelims here. We got Kurt Hollabau versus Trey Ogden. Gonna have to skip this one too. Don't know a ton about these guys, and I don't want to keep it more exciting on the main card. So Fernando Padilla here versus Luis Pajuelo. 9 significant strikes to 5. It's going to be a striking matchup for the most part. We see the accuracy here for Pajuelo is really good. 70% versus 40%. I mean, you don't want to just go based off of all the stats. As, especially because look over here on the other side for Padilla, you got 76-inch reach. It's a really big reach advantage. He's going to have to control the range. Again, 6'1", 145 is light in the ass for sure. 5'10", 145 is light too, but not the same. Still got some reach advantage. He's probably used to being the longer guy, Pajuelo, in these fights. You see he's the underdog. But again, I'm going to have to watch that fight and look who manages the distance the best. If Pajuelo can get inside of the range, that reach, we see that he throws a lot of strikes and he's accurate. So very interested in that matchup there. Not as many fights as Padilla, so it makes sense why he's the favorite with that reach and the experience. Now we're getting to the juicy side of things here. So we got Billy Quarantillo versus Youssef Zalal. This is going to be a banger. Quarantillo is a brawler. You see -110 to -110. Zalal also, I've seen them both in fights where they're just like hitting people and getting hit and they're being zombies and they're fighting zombies, right? So it's going to be a zombie versus zombie fight here. Youssef's got the youth on his side. Quarantillo was, recently borderline on a little bit of a run at featherweight. Got finished by Edson Barbosa, who's a legend. So, Quarantillo's going to put a lot of pressure on Zalal, walk forward the whole time. throw a lot of strikes. You see 7 landed per minute, 7.7 per minute. Decent accuracy, but he throws a lot. He's going to try for takedowns too. So this is a really nice matchup. I like the odds here too. Kind of unclear who's going to get the win. I'm going to go roll with Quarantillo because of the pressure and the cardio output, and I've just seen him be a zombie a little bit more. And I think the grappling, again, we see that Zalal's got more accuracy on the takedowns, and he lands at a higher percentage. But I just think Quarantillo only fights one way, and yeah, so there's a reason that this fight is a toss-up, but I'm going to roll with Quarantillo here. Then get into the next fight, Peyton Talbot versus Cameron Saman. I've seen Saman fight once. Again, these guys are bantamweights, very light. They throw a lot of strikes. There's going to be 135, 5'10 versus 5'8. Better reach over here. Again, it's hard not to pick a guy with the better reach, and in a situation where there's so many different factors that are really similar at the same time. So many different factors that are on the same level, I should say. So yeah, I'm going to kind of roll with Talbot here from the reach, but again, not a ton of information on either guy. And now we're getting the stuff I know a little bit more about. I mean, Quarantillo, I knew about him more than any of these guys previously. But Edmund Shabazian versus AJ Dobson. Shabazian used to train with Ronda Rousey. He came up and was like this guy that they were hyping up in the UFC. Oh, his goal is to be the youngest champion in history since beat John Jones' record. And he talked about that a lot. And honestly, there's fighters that talk about that a lot when they're young and they're doing well and they're prospects. But sometimes you will under the pressure. Sometimes the pressure of that gets to you because there's just so many people now projecting this on you, and maybe it looks like you will be this, but that's a ton of pressure because once you start fighting killers, it's hard to go back in the UFC. Shabazian had a few main events that he had in the UFC against top level competition at middleweight. Again, has the skill sets, look good, hasn't typically had the gas tank, and just not quite sharp enough in the areas he needs to be to beat the best guys. Kind of seen him get outclassed as the fight rolls on. He gets worn down, dragged into the deep waters, as they say, by others. And that's kind of how it goes with Edmund. You see he's the favorite here, AJ Dobson. Decent fighter, never really been super elite. Very similar height and reach for both guys. I think Shabazian mixes it up well, a little bit more. You see the stats here, a little bit less strikes than Dobson, but more accurate. Not as accurate with the takedowns. 75% for Dobson is really high, but he might not have a lot of takedown attempts, and Shabazian lands too. So I've seen Shabazian mix it up. I think he's going to, if this is a matchup, the UFC probably wants him to be built back up, continuously. They're probably being a little bit more intellectual and strategic with his career now. He's still only 26, super young. You don't want a guy like that to go out of the UFC, especially if you believe in him still. So make the matchups ones that'll elevate him, make him better, kind of push him slowly. And I think that's what they're doing now here. So I'm going to go with Shabazian in that one as well. Carl Williams, Justin Tafa. So this fight is interesting. I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be Junior Tafa, Justin's brother, fighting here. But then Justin was fighting a few weeks ago, got hurt. Junior, he was going to be one of his cornermen, steps in and fights in that fight. And now they're swapping, essentially. So we see that Tafa is the underdog here. But he's got a lot of size and weight specifically, not the height, 6'3" versus 6 foot, but 265 versus 239. Honestly, this is one of those fights where heavyweights, you never fucking know, man. Like, Carl is minus 190 is like a decent favorite compared to the plus 160, or compared to like if they were chalk, minus 110, minus 110, something like that. But it's going to be wrestling versus striking, basically. We see Carl Williams here, 4 takedown average. He's 46% accuracy. Now, if you guys like landing 4 takedowns on average in a fight, that means that they're going for it, right? Especially when their fights are probably usually 3 rounds. Yeah, so Tafa, if he lands a punch, man, he's a big hitter. You see he's one of these big Samoan kind of New Zealand guys, got the big flabby belly, but clearly the thick-ass legs and just the tatted up, and all the weight, is probably in those legs, and he's got a lot of power that's packed from that. So I don't really know. I think Carl Williams probably will be able to implement his game and avoid getting knocked out and just take Tafa down and have his way with him. So I'm going to roll with Carl Williams, but don't be surprised if Justin just throws a bomb in the first fucking 30 seconds and knocks Carl out. So we'll see what happens there. Most exciting fight by far, kind of alluding back to previous episodes I talked about. UFC is stacking these pay-per-views, and now we're getting all these fighters that, I didn't know a lot of these fighters on this card. These Apex cards are getting really filled in with whoever, but it's an opportunity, again, if you're a hardcore fan or if you just want to get to know the sport better, just to learn about new people. Maybe this is the first fight card you'll ever see, and you'll decide, these are my favorite fighters now because I loved, let me scroll down, I loved, Jarno Aarons and Stephen Wynn did their thing. You know what I'm saying? You never know who's going to kind of catch your attention. So maybe there'll be someone that stands out and some new stars will be built off of this card. But ultimately, the card is built all around these two ladies here, Amanda Ribas versus Rose Namajunas. Rose Namajunas used to be they're fighting at flyweight, so at 115. Namajunas used to be the 115-pound champion. She ended up moving up to bantamweight 120. Excuse me, they're fighting at. Why does it say women's flyweight main event? That's what's weird. So you see the weights here: 115, 125. Flyweight is 115. I believe this fight is actually at bantamweight at 125. So Rose Namajunas has moved up to 125 from 115. She's not the biggest 115 pounder, but she definitely has some size. She's got 2 inches on Amanda Ribas. They both kind of can go up and down between those two divisions. So it's let me see if I can figure this out exactly. Rose Namajunas. I don't know what this is all, but this says flyweight too. Let me see what the UFC's official site's got going on. Yeah, I want to get to the bottom of this because that'll affect my analysis a little bit there. So we got the events here. Rose Namajunas Ribas. Can I look at that? Fight night. How to watch. It says women's flyweight bout. Huh. What? 115, 135 now they're saying. What the heck? All right, I guess it's 115. So they're fighting at 115 instead of 125. Man, but now I'm mixing it all up. Is flyweight 125? What the heck is happening right here? Let me see the rankings here. Then I'll wrap up the episode right after that, but I'm getting confused. So let me see what's going on here. Strawweight. Never mind. I messed up. That was my mistake. So yeah, strawweight. Sorry, excuse me. So yeah, men's flyweight is 125. I don't know why I thought I was mixing up those kind of divisions like that. But yeah, men's flyweight is 125. Women's flyweight is also 125. Strawweight's 115. Rose Namajunas used to be the strawweight champion. Excuse me, that little correction there. Ribas has fought at strawweight as well. Been a top contender, top 5 contender in that division. 30 versus 31. The age isn't such a big deal. Rose is a great grappler, really great jiu-jitsu, but she's been super hesitant to really engage with wrestlers in the past, and she's one of the best strikers, most fluid strikers in the history of the UFC, men or women, and she still will have. There's been a fight, Carla Esparza #2. I mean, that was when she lost the belt. She's beaten the current champion at strawweight Zhang Weili twice. Knocked her out with this beautiful front kick in the first fight. Split decision win in the second fight. I'm not sure if she, I thought Rose won or not, but it was very close. Regardless, then she ends up losing the belt to Carla Esparza, who's the one that beat Rose the inaugural championship fight in that division to get the belt. And Esparza is no world beater. She's a great fighter, great wrestler. But she's not typically known for being instilling fear in a lot of other people. But maybe if you're really worried about the wrestling, that'll be the case. But yeah, Rose was like she barely engaged in that fight. One of the most boring, horrible fights in UFC history. Maybe the worst fight in UFC history. Definitely the worst in terms of championship context. And Carla won that fight. So Rose since then has moved up to 125. Lost in her debut to Manon Fiorot, who's like a big, strong French flyweight. And Ribas, I think both of these, I think Ribas looks better at 125 as well than 115. Just, having a size advantage isn't always the biggest, benefit if you don't have the chin or the head movement, or if that affects your cardio and you're not as strong. If you lose strength because you're going down and you're depleting yourself, it's not as big of a deal. So basically, I think this will be a striker. This might be a brawl a little bit. Rose is the favorite, -120. She's going to be much cleaner with the striking. Ribas is going to have her head, chin sitting out there for Rose to just bink a few times for sure. But Ribas is probably a better jiu-jitsu practitioner, probably a little bit maybe better wrestling or just grappling in general, even though Rose is very good at grappling. So I think this is ultimately going to turn into, Ribas trying to grapple or just trying to brawl, because she's not going to be able to just outstrike Rose in a technical matchup. So I think it's fair for Rose to be the favorite here. I think she should be. This will be her second fight now at 125. Feeling a little bit better at that weight. She's not fighting a big, strong 125er. She's fighting another girl who's very similar, another woman who's very similar size to Rose. That can go up and down. So yeah, I think Rose being the favorite is fair here. But Ribas is a live dog, man, for sure. She's gonna come out ready to brawl, ready to get hit. I've seen her, wear a lot of damage and keep going forward. But ultimately, I just think that her head movement and her striking is not good enough to really fuck with Rose in the striking, and I feel like Rose is gonna be able to avoid some of those grappling situations that could be issues for her. But if Ribas gets it to the ground, then she really, really, really could be the live dog there. So anyway, that's all I got with that. I'm gonna stop sharing the screen here too. Went about an hour. I thought it was gonna be a quicker episode, but I got really into the first few things I was talking about. But anyway, appreciate you all for tuning in. Make sure you go follow Black Gritty, subscribe to Black Gritty on Spotify and YouTube for these episodes. See us on Tuesdays, Gritty Nights for those live streams with Owen, myself, and Jason, Black Gritty, Jason, and Aristotle. And again, MMA Full Throttle episodes will be coming out more and more frequently. And tune in to my Instagram channel, Aristotle MMA, for kind of daily memes and some reels and some quick reactions to things. So peace and love. Appreciate you all. I'll catch you in the next episode. Thanks.